Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So I know it's the 7 o'clock. We're not going to get into the meat of the meeting for at least, a couple more minutes, but I'd love to hear you guys introduce yourselves and share where are you from, what native plants do you love, what is your favorite winter interest, native plant, tree, or shrub, and what Wild Ones events have you enjoyed? So I'll start with myself. So my name is Jessica Ausnamer, and I'm the president of the Wild Ones Greater Cleveland chapter. I live in Berea, but I've always lived in Northeast Ohio, especially Cuyahoga County and Lorain County most of my life. What native plants do I love? Well, I'm trying to think what my favorites are. I think my favorites is bald cypress from a tree perspective. And the reason why is I just find it fascinating how long it can live for, and it can live for thousands of years. Um, but I would say hmm, meadow blazing star is probably my favorite plant. It's a variation of I used to have the more dense blazing star and other types of blazing star in my yard, and I just find that you look so unique and interesting. Um, and then my favorite winter interest native plant or shrub is winterberry. It looks beautiful
Hmm.
this time of year with the snow and the bright red berries. It's actually the picture right here from my yard, well, a couple weeks ago at least. So, um, and what Wild Ones events have I enjoyed, or at least recently? And for those that are newer, we have been through a slew of winter sewing events, and I love just the excitement that this brings, like, new plants and everyone just sharing their knowledge and experiences and some of their seeds that came from the seed swap and whatnot. So that's what I've enjoyed recently. Ray, would you like to go next?
Mm. Sure. I'll give it a try. I have to agree with the Winterberry Holly. So I'm Ray, and I live in Amherst in Lorain County. I've been in Elyria and Amherst most of my life, and I'm a retired science teacher, and now I'm the community science chair for Wild Ones Greater Cleveland. So I'm keeping my science hat on well into retirement. Um, favorite, oh, favorite place. This is always such a hard one. Um, I've been out and enjoying my beauty bush, even though the grand purple berries on it have faded. It's still full of berries, and I can tell that there's been birds picking at it because some of them are dropping to the ground now. And I actually tried to tear one of the seeds apart. It's kind of like a little bitty raisin right now, and see if there's a whole packet of seeds in there. It turns out there's just one seed per fruit in there. It's kind of a sticky little thing, and I'm wondering if I should winter sow some of those. um, the 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 best events, boy, I don't know. Um, I've been kind of wrapped up with the winter sewing myself, so that's kind of at the uh, top of my list for Wild Ones events. I think it's a great way to connect with people and get people doing things that they weren't quite sure about doing, and then it turns out to be pretty easy once you get a little bit of guidance. So those have been very successful events that we've been putting on for people. So there's going to be thousands more native plants come spring getting out into the landscape.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ray. So, you want to go
Okay.
next?
Sure. My name is Tama, and I'm in Lorain County. And one of my one of the native plants that I love and that I have tried to grow before is black cohosh And red
Mm.
baneberry is the one I'm really working on this year. Well, I started 2 years ago. I'm hoping for some germinating seeds this spring. But those are my two favorites right now. And my favorite winter plant or tree would probably be walnut trees, the black walnut trees, because they are just kind of majestic with when the snow is on their branches and you can always pick a black walnut out in the landscape. So, um, and I just went to my first Wild Ones event this past Saturday with winter sowing in Lorain County Soil and Water. So that was my first um, Wild Ones event.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us at our winter sewing workshop. I'm so jealous. The black cohosh, I tried planting it for the first time last year, and unfortunately, I don't think any of them made it. So I'm
Oh,
trying to figure out why it's not doing well, at least where I was attempting to do it. But I was really excited because of I love like I guess a lot of people refer to them almost as like they almost look like candles or something along those
yes,
lines. And so I've
yes.
heard they're beautiful though.
I've seen them growing in West Virginia and down at my family's there, and we were out on four-wheelers, and I'm just like, stop. They were just beautiful.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, who else would like to go next?
I
So,
can go
so I will
next.
step up. This is Bruce Delaney. I am a native of Cleveland. I grew up actually in East Cleveland and spent a number of years away in various pursuits. I moved back to Cleveland Heights a couple of years ago. I have gone to a few Wild Ones events. I've actually run into you guys at pretty much every native plant sale and things that I have done. But what I've enjoyed the most is actually the seed swaps at the libraries. Those have been really fun and have helped me add to my seed collections. I'd have to say my favorite native flower that I have now is the cardinal flower. I have a kind of a wet spot in my yard that the cardinal flowers seem to love, and I'm looking forward to having them come up this spring.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bruce. Who else would like to go next?
I can go next.
For it.
I'm Brenda, and I'm at Worcester, down in Wayne County. And my favorite native plant is purple coneflower because it attracts so many goldfinch, and it's important in their cycle with feeding their young. And then my favorite winter interest are both the winterberry, which I've got about five of them, and witch hazel, which I've got two of. So those are my two favorites. And I really haven't been to anything recently. I'm just getting back to being involved with Wild Ones. I've been doing a lot with Master Gardener volunteers and Greater Mohican Audubon Society and alumni at the college. So I've been really stretched lately.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, Brenda. And hopefully we'll see you at a few others. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to piggyback on what Brenda said. First, I'm Claudia from Wadsworth in Medina County, and I like the same purple coneflower that Brenda liked, especially because I've gotten it to grow on my patio here in our condo association, and I see birds
Yeah.
pecking at it and, being drawn into my garden with it, so I love it. I don't own a winterberry, but that is one that I really love to see. And talking about Wild One events, I think I have this right. I went to a prairie tour this past summer, and I think it was in Amherst. And that was, the first prairie I had ever really looked at and understood all of the um, work behind it. And I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, I think that might have been the one that Ray was hosting with the Oberlin Prairie. Was that right, Ray?
It sounds like it. Yeah, the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, Oberlin Preserve. Um, we did a tour out there. It was nice and hot, and we got to see
Right.
a lot of insect activity on the flowers. So that's when it is you get the most activity is when it's really hot in the summer.
Very interesting.
Yes. Thank you, Claudia. All right. Oh, I see a few people mentioning that they're being quiet because they're eating dinner. Don't worry, no pressure. But if you do have a moment, don't hesitate to say hi, and you can also have a chance to say hi at the end of the meeting too. So, anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, this is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I've spent most of my life in Northeast Ohio. My favorite plant is the black-eyed Susans. Even before I started learning about native plants, they've always been one of my favorites. And I think my favorite event actually, Jessica, was at your house when we dug up some of your extra native plants and potted them, but then also got to take some home. And I met some really great people in the little group I was working in. So that was a really fun one.
Well, thank you for coming and thank you for speaking. Yes, don't worry. I will definitely have another dig it party at my house. Ray also has hosted dig it parties at his too. So more than happy to share the native plants that I have because I get so many babies now that my garden's like 5, 6 years old now. So, all right. Anybody else? All right, well, let's move on then. And like I said, for anybody that didn't get a chance to introduce themselves or have questions, don't hesitate to stay to the end of the meeting and we'll have another little short discussion and Q&A if anybody should have that. All right, so let me move on. So for those not aware, Wild One's mission is to promote native landscapes through education, advocacy, and collaborative action. Our vision is native plants and natural landscapes thriving in every community. So for our local chapter, we're the local chapter of Greater Cleveland, and we cover all of Northeast Ohio, doing a wide variety of free events and activities that are open to public. As you've heard several times, one of our big pushes this time of year is winter sowing. I think just in the last month alone, we at least did 6 or more. But one of our big personal goals as a chapter is to try to keep as much as we can free and accessible to the public. So that's through a variety of in-person workshops such as winter sowing or prairie tours or invasive species removal or even community garden plantings to also virtual events such as this so that, like I said, it's accessible to everyone. And in addition to that, all of our online educational topics are available on our YouTube channel. So if you missed something or you want to re-listen to something, that is a great resource. We have a couple years of material on there. All right, so next, we're just going to talk a little bit about our 2026 theme for those not aware. We'll have a discussion about, do you have a native plant story that you'd like to share? Because that has to do with our theme for the year. And then go into some chapter updates, upcoming events and activities. And then Ray will be talking about iNaturalist. So for those not aware, our 2026 theme is Once Upon a Native Plant Seed. And this is a really special year because its focus will be on children and imagination and libraries and storytelling. And this is in addition to our normal educational material. But our partners this year, you'll see a lot of partnering with regards to Cleveland Public Library, Cuyahoga County Public Library, Oldham Arboretum, Botanical Garden, West Creek Conservancy, Akron Zoo, which you'll hear more about a little bit later today, Arbor Day Foundation, and we'll be launching our Seeds for the Future program, which will be helping us partner with elementary and middle schools as well as others. And the message for the year that we're trying to share is that even the littlest seed can inspire the greatest change. So you'll hear a lot of fairy tale themed events and activities like a CD affair or things like that. So, or our Mad Planter Tea Party is going to be later this year as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this theme for the year. So next, do you have a native plant story you would like to share? And Ray, I know you have a special story you wanted to share with us with regards to this.
Oh, you had to call me out on that. All right, I'll give it a try. So, back when I was at Kent State, I was studying botany, and I had learned in a lab that you could grow. We actually grew pepper plants in under artificial light in a jar of water, and gave it some nutrients, and we gave it everything it needed so that it grew, it flowered, and it set fruit inside of a lab without any outdoor experience at all. It was kind of amazing. It kind of opened my eyes to what the essentials were. So I'm thinking, this was before I even knew the word hydroponics. I said, I could grow something inside, and I just happened to have a few marijuana seeds sitting around. And so I said, well, let's see if these will grow. So I really went all in, and I made this planter box. I got shop lights, floodlights. I planted in this artificial medium, and sure enough, they grew. And I thought, wow, this, it's amazing. Well, as it turned out, under artificial conditions, you don't really produce any active ingredients. At least not under the techniques that I was using. So it ended up that I had a friend in police science, and she said, well, that's really cool. There's a lot of police that have never actually seen the real plant. Could I get some leaves from you? I'm going to put them in plexiglass, and then we'll have samples to share around for education. So, absolutely. You go ahead. Sure enough, that's what happened. That was the fate of those plants, is that they were for police education.
Nice. Thank you, Ray.
And it inspired me to continue growing things for the rest of my life, because I had been a gardener, but I just could not get away from it. I've never been without a garden my entire life.
No, thank you for sharing that story. So this is part of that theme for the year, and one of these special projects that you've just heard a little bit about is we want to engage with you and discuss, what we call our Stories of the Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor. So, every meeting will have a little piece about this. You'll learn more, we welcome you to also share your stories. But we'll be partnering with the Cleveland Public Library for a special project that you'll hear more about later this year. So we're really excited about this initiative. But does anybody else have a funny native plant story that you'd like to share? Okay, well, we'll move on. All right. So next, some chapter updates. Since our last chapter meeting in January, we've had 10 new members, and I believe, trying to see if anybody's on the line right now. Is any of these individuals on the line want to say hi? Okay. Well, that's okay. They might not have had a chance to join, but if you do see them, please welcome them and say hi. We're very excited to have you and appreciate you supporting our efforts. So next, some volunteer opportunities. So for those that aren't aware, we are a volunteer-led nonprofit, And so we're just very thankful for all volunteers, such as Ray is one of our key volunteers since the beginning of our chapter. And every little bit that people are willing to give in that volunteer capacity really helps us share our mission and become more effective within our own communities and sharing our efforts. Some of the volunteer opportunities that are coming up are the newsletter share position. We are also looking for a chapter operations assistant. We are also looking for somebody to help us with social media, as well as a volunteer coordinator. Now, for some of these positions, even if you don't have any experience, we do have the ability to train. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Actually, our current social media chair was not familiar with social media as much, but we trained her on that. So also there's a lot of other opportunities. So if you have a passion, whether it's 1 hour or several hours to give a month, please don't hesitate to reach out and send us an email at wildonesgreatercleveland@gmail.com. We'd love to have that conversation with you. So, oh, I apologize. We have a couple more things. We also are looking for a garden tour program chair, as well as Keystone educators. To talk a little bit more about Keystone educators, there's two pieces. We have what we call our Keystone Education Workshop Series, which is a workshop series of educational topics we really feel it's important that everyone should have a base level knowledge of. And one of those topics is winter sowing. And so we're looking for volunteers to help us with one of two things. One is to either help us create some of these presentations on these other topics or worksheets, or to help us teach these classes, because we get a lot of requests, not only for our events and activities that we host ourselves, but to partner with other organizations, whether that's a local garden club, metro parks, just other community partners. I've even had retirement communities reach out, as well as cities as well. So if that is something that interests you, please do not hesitate to reach out. So like I said, if you have any questions or you're just interested in having that conversation, just reach out to us. We'd love to talk with you. As Ray and I both mentioned, we've had at least 5 winter sowing workshops since our last meeting, and probably shorting us on a few because it's been very busy. But we love this time of year. So those are just a few of our volunteers, so as well as participants. So we appreciate, like I said, all of our volunteers. Ray has been instrumental, Allison especially. Cassie has put together our seed sowing, not sorry, seed sowing, our seed swaps. She also did winter sowing. So, oh, and Danielle as well. So we're really appreciative for all of our volunteers and what they do. Next, some upcoming events and activities. So tomorrow, our national organization is offering a free virtual presentation called From Wasteland to Wonder. So check this out. Go to the actual website or social media, and you can register for that event. So they usually host some really great free online educational topics like this. So check that out. Also, this upcoming Saturday, we'll have what we call like a seed and social event. So this will be at Hudson Library and Historical Society in Hudson, Ohio. And the great thing is these are seed packets that we give out at every single one of our events. But if you want some of those seeds, help yourself. So we love to share our seeds with everyone. Also, next month, as I mentioned, we have a partnership with the Akron Zoo, and people might not be aware, but actually they are the national lead for Frog Watch USA. So check us out next month. The third Tuesday of every month is when we have our chapter meeting, and our educational topic will be with regards to Frog Watch USA. All right, Ray, it's you now. Let me stop
Okay.
sharing and we'll switch over to Ray.
Okay. Let me launch my program here. And
Well, while
okay,
Ray is getting ready, Ray Stewart has been with us since the beginning of our chapter. He's been fundamental in helping us build our chapter. He's done so many educational topics for us, as well as hosting anything from seed socials at his house last month to winter sowing with Loring County Water and Soil District. Sorry, I just saw a question pop through. Yes, anybody can join a virtual meeting. Like I said, we try to keep as much as we can free and open to the public. So please feel free to invite a friend or family member. You do not have to be a member. A member just helps make it nice to keep things free and open to the public. Back to Ray though. So Ray is a wonderful individual. He is a iNaturalist ambassador. He's a retired science teacher. He's also our Loring County Community Regional Coordinator, as well as our Community Science Chair. So without further ado, the man, the legend, Ray Stewart.
Well, thank you, Jessica. That was very generous of you. You can see my intro slide, okay?
Yes.
That's up. All right. Very good. So this is an introduction to iNaturalist, and this is an app that you can put on any smartphone. It's free. And then you can use that. Most people use it, I think, simply to identify whatever it is that they are looking at. They want to know what flower is that, or what butterfly is that, or what mushroom is that. And so they pull out an app from their phone, and I think my screen just went crazy.
It did, Ray. It just went white. You
It
can
just
see the
went
bottom
fine.
row thing though, just not the presentation.
Well, that's welcome to WhatsApp. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, we'll get back to it then. So the main thing is to identify whatever it is that you're looking at. There are several different apps that will allow you to do that. This one is very special, and I think you'll see what I mean as we go through this orientation to iNaturalist. And I'm hoping that if you are not already using it, you will begin using it and contribute to the effort. So here's the challenge. This is what we're up against. One major challenge of our time is the global biodiversity crisis. It's estimated that over 1 million species are threatened with extinction in this century due to climate change and habitat loss. Two things we need to address this challenge are: one, more people who care about and advocate for and take action for nature, and the other, more information about where species are to help guide conservation. So here you see in this image a wonderful kingfisher. Here's the river where it fishes, where it makes its living, which you can see in this image is full of trash. So it's not just loss of habitat, it's degradation of habitat as well. So there are things that we can do about it. We can take part in this effort to help conservation of nature. So what we need is more people. We need eyes and ears in the field, making observations, reporting those observations. We need people to get out to more places, places that have not been well documented, although places that are well documented continue to benefit by more documentation. And we need to get more species identified. Here, the image on the right is the most successful group of organisms on this planet, the beetles. So here's how it works. So first, with a smartphone, that's the easiest and best way in my mind to do it, but it's not the only way. You can record a sound, and a sound can be an observation. So it doesn't have to be a visual observation. It could be a sound. If you're into sounds and have a way to record them, if you're sitting out on your porch on a June or a July night and the cicadas are calling, you're going like, what is that I'm hearing? You can record that sound, post it to iNaturalist, and it'll help you figure that out. If you don't have a smartphone, or you just don't want to use a smartphone, you want to use a camera instead, you can do it that way. All right, but record an observation. That's the first step. Then, once you put that into iNaturalist, even before you upload it, iNaturalist will attempt to identify that observation, and it may give you several possible suggestions that you can choose from. You can tap to choose it, and then you've got an observation with a reasonable suggestion based on what is known to be in the area and is visually similar. One of the neat things about the smartphone is that when you take a picture, it automatically records where you are and when you are. So that is part of the image that you have just taken. So there's the thing you see in a photograph on your phone, and then there's the metadata, the stuff that is carried along with that photo that iNaturalist can then use, and then they know where and when that photo was taken. So you upload that observation, it is visible to the iNaturalist community, and then about 1 in 10 members of the iNaturalist community actually scour the app for organisms that they're familiar with to check for accuracy. And someone is bound to come along and look at your observation and say, yeah, you got that right. And say, yes, I agree. And then you've got confirmation from a person, not just an artificial intelligence. Or they might say, no, I think it's close, but I think it's probably this other thing that is easily confused with it. And that happens too. And I've just been in a long discussion on one of the posts that I put in. Is it a northern iris or a southern iris? How do you know? And so we went in and said, well, what do you see that makes you think it's southern? I think it's northern. And that just went on and on for quite a while. Really good discussion. You get into some technical stuff sometimes, but it's a very congenial community that's trying to help in all of every encounter that I've had. Is that people just want to try and help. So as you can see in this image on the right, it says check research grade. So that puts your observation in a different category on iNaturalist when you get concurrence with other members of the community. So you take a photo. That's how it starts. Generally, you take a photo. Directly in the app is the easiest way to do it in my mind. You could just open up your phone and take a picture real quick without opening the app, and then import that into the app later, if that's the way you'd like to do it. That's perfectly fine. It just gives you another step to do that. or a regular camera. If you use a regular camera, you can go to the web app, go to your desktop, go to your laptop, and import that picture from there, and put that up onto iNaturalist and go through the same process. It will suggest an identification. Community, once they become aware that that observation is there, can confirm or refute your observation. And of course, you can use a sound as well, which is really cool that you can do that. So iNaturalist has a trained, they call it a species recommendation model. It's artificial intelligence. And I've been using iNaturalist probably since the second year that it was available. A long time. I did a presentation in graduate school on it way back whenever I was doing that. It has gotten so much better. It's crazy. You know, you think, oh, if I take a picture of a flower, of course, that's going to have identifying characteristics. I've taken pictures of bark, just the bark of a tree. And it goes like, yep, that's a hickory, all right. Yeah, you're going to have to give me more if you want to know which hickory it is. You know, but it's really good and getting better all of the time, because all of the information that is being put into the system is being used to make further suggestions on identification. And there's a lot of that. Or you can just say, hey, I know better than you. I know what this is. So here in this picture, you can see this flower is identified as a white daisy tidy tips. And then it's followed by a Latin name, the scientific name. Well, you may be thinking, you know, I know what this flower is, and we call it a yellow-eyed daisy. Well, maybe you're both right. Maybe the common names vary from one location to another, but since it provides you with the scientific name, you can actually search on that, or you can probe iNaturalist itself to get more information. And maybe there's more than one common name. That's not at all unusual. And you find out that you're both right, that it does have different common names in different places. So the scientific name is there as an anchor, so you can explore further on that. And here's the big deal. iNaturalist contributes to science. Once it's uploaded and an iNaturalist community member confirms, says, yeah, you got this right. There could be 2, 3, 4 people say, yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. It gets that flag that says research grade. That then gets shared with other databases outside of iNaturalist. That's considered a vetted observation that is then used for higher purposes, for research, conservation, and even policy-making purposes. So you're contributing data. You're not just identifying an organism for your own satisfaction. You're doing something for a larger community and a bigger purpose. So here's the iNaturalist community. 4 million people worldwide have made observations. About 475,000 people have added identifications to other people's observations. And some of them make many identifications on a regular basis. It's just part of their the joy of seeing what other people are posting and seeing what is out there in various realms. So nearly 300 million observations have been posted on iNaturalist. And that's a lot of data. And among those observations, more than 550,000 species have been identified. So this is really useful information, is the point. And for your own personal pleasure, it's a way of keeping track of where you are and what you see. So it's like making your own travel log of where you go, because once you post an observation, there it is in your account, and you can go and look at your account. So this is a map of the world with one person's observation. I'm betting they live in Northern California because that's where the deepest red is. So that's where the most observations have been posted by this individual. But it looks like they've traveled to Hawaii, they've traveled to Iceland, they've visited Great Britain, they went to Colombia and Ecuador, and out to the Galapagos. So there's a lot of travel experience that is logged here for this one individual. I think that's kind of cool to have this resource to go back and review what you have experienced while you've been on a trip. So here's my travels. This is my iNaturalist postings just in the year 2025, where you can see that the most observations are near home in Ohio, but heck, I went to New Orleans and I saw some things. I went to Central America and saw some things. And I went to South America too. And this past year, I made 641 observations and was able to identify 476 species. And here it is recorded. I can go back and say like, oh yeah, that's what I saw when I was there. That was really cool. So I've got a little album, a travel album for myself. Here's just in Ohio. This is since I started using the app. So this is up until the end of last year. And this is where I've been around Ohio and shows places that I've seen. So I've made approaching 3,000 observations within Ohio alone, and over 1,000 species I've posted right here. And I can go back and I can see images of all of the things that I have seen. So here, I just filtered this for flowering plants because those are pretty to look at. So these are some of the flowering plants that I've logged on iNaturalist. So it's a nice way to review what you've seen and things you've done and places you've been as well. So I'm trying to say that there's personal joy and there's scientific power both in this app. So here's the 300 million observations worldwide. This is all of them. So somehow there's not that many in the Sahara Desert. I don't know what's going on there. So that's a lot of data points, is what I'm saying. And then there's things that can be closer to home. So here's a project. So in addition to your own personal data set, the global data set, there are things called projects. So here, projects are just a subset. Somebody sets up a project and it defines an area or an event or a time and invites observations for that project. And a project can be a BioBlitz, where you go out for a day or two, just try to identify everything you can in a very small space. Or it can be like this one, which was a community garden project that's still ongoing, I think. And here it's in Washington, D.C., and they're trying to look at the effect that community gardens have on wildlife. So they're getting people to post all of the species that come in and visit, all of the pollinators that come in and visit these community gardens. So they've got quite a number of people that are documenting that within this little folder of observations. It's still available to the broader iNaturalist community, But for those interested in this community garden project, they have it all in one nice little place. So people were identifying grubs in the soil. They're identifying invasive weeds. And here somebody found a fish crow, and I don't know how they identified that as a fish crow with that silhouette right there. But sometimes a bad picture can be identified, even if it's a little bit fuzzy. I know I've done that often enough, but there may be enough information even in a dull picture to make an identification. So you don't have to be a well-heeled photographer in order to post something. And then there can be leaderboards within your project too, where here you see there's a list of the top 5 with the most observations, or with the most species, the broadest species count. And then, another little list of what is being seen more than anything else. What is the most common stuff within this project? So all that information is provided through this app, so that it can be very informative about what you're doing, and there's ways to filter the information that comes in. And then, here's a map of the Washington, D.C. area where this community garden project has been posting observations. So you can see when and where and what, all in this one nice little project. So, it's really easy. You don't have to have a lot to get started, just a way to record an observation and the willingness to get out and do it. And most of us have a smartphone in our pocket all the time anyhow. So for most of us, there's little reason not to. Whenever you see something that looks interesting, catches your eye, take a picture, post it. See if you can identify it. If not, see if somebody else can identify it. That's kind of a cool thing to do, to know what it is that's, who's living with you, who's living all around you. Wouldn't it be nice to know? And here's how you do it. So crowdsourcing all of this provides the world's largest data set of biodiversity powering conservation projects. And they don't have to be all the cool plants and animals. They can be weeds, they can be invasives, they can be things that you don't like as well as the things that you do like. It's all important that it be recorded and posted. And it helps deepen people's connection to nature. So maybe you've never really cared to identify things before. You thought it might be too hard. You don't want to carry around a field guide with you all the time. You don't have to. You've got an app on a phone that can do it. So it's a good reason to get outside and explore nature, learn more about species that are around you. Because once you get an ID, there's a link, and maybe it's just a Wikipedia or something like that, but there's a link that gives you more information about what it is that you're looking at. So you're not just getting a name to ID what it is you're observing. You can get quick access to some background information on it. And New York Times put this article out saying, it's the nicest place online. Even though it might just involve seeing sea slugs or something in the intertidal community, it may be strange to some, the kinds of things that get posted, but that the camaraderie among the members of the community is fantastic. So it supports biodiversity science. So here's an example. Hundreds of undescribed species actually get documented. Things that are not known to science. They don't have a scientific name. They've never been seen or studied by a science specialist that might know something about it. And this is kind of cute. Here's a praying mantis organism that got named, new to science, got named in Inemia gnat. So the shortened name of it is INAT, in homage to the fact that it was discovered through a member of the iNaturalist community. Kind of neat. And then here in the other image is a bird that was thought extinct. This is the first documented observation of that bird since 1969. So people had given up. Well, now conservation efforts can say, hey, these things still exist. They're still out there. Maybe we can do something to manage the landscape to make sure that they continue to have what they need in these places where they are. So it can inform conservation efforts. So over 6 million new observations per month. That's a lot of people out there, but the capacity to do double that is already there. And it's all free. They do occasionally ask for $5 if you can handle it. But that's just up to you. If you want to throw them a tip, it helps. So we have a project in the works too here at Greater Cleveland Wild Ones. One of my duties is to set up a Northeast Ohio native habitat corridor project within the iNaturalist app. So that'll be out pretty soon, and we will be asking people who have a garden or know of a garden, a community garden in their neighborhood, to use this app to document what they see in those gardens. So here on the left, this is the map on our website. Excuse me. Of the habitat corridor, so you can see where these native plant gardens are across the region. But what we'll do, we'll create an iNaturalist map like this one on the right, where each of those little pins, you can click on it and you can see what was observed and when it was observed in one of these native habitats. So a lot richer kind of information base on there. This particular map, I narrowed it. This is only bumblebees that have been observed. And I chose that just because it wasn't too dense. So you can see some of the roads and the landmarks and stuff that are here. That's just bumblebees in the greater Cleveland area. So nearly 300 million observations and growing by 1 million a week or more all over the world. And it's contributing to science. So here's just a rough sample. I'm going to skip over this, but over 1,000 studies were published in a single year, relying on iNaturalist data. So this is published scientific papers using the data that people like you and I are posting to the iNaturalist app. So this information leads to conservation outcomes. Those who do manage landscapes, need to know where things are. Here's a story. They were able to map this invasive pest, the zigzag sawfly, and they were able to get ahead of it a little bit and reduce its impact as it spread. So it takes data, it takes eyes and ears out in the landscape posting these observations, because there's not enough entomologists, there's not enough scientists, there's not enough conservation professionals to see it all. It takes just everyday people with a smartphone to contribute to these efforts. And there's that little sawfly right there in the middle. And sometimes you just see something totally weird and you want to say, what the heck is that? And here, this is a melanistic, an odd form of a serval in Kenya. So something that is almost never seen. Some wild cat out in the bush. And there'll be more. So those of you who are seriously interested in iNaturalist and want to hear more and get better at it and get some experience, we've got a workshop coming up in April here in Amherst. You're invited to attend. I don't think we have a registration set up for this yet, but we will have that soon and ask you to sign up so we have an idea of the capacity of the room, how many chairs to set up and that sort of thing. So we're going to do introduction to iNaturalist, much like I just did this evening. So if you want to skip the first half hour, that's fine, come late. And then we're gonna have some one-on-one time, and we're gonna get out of the building and go out around the Sandstone Village and see what we can find and do some actual observations, documentations, posting materials, making sure your app works, answer questions that you have. So do some fine tuning if you need some coaching with some real world experience. Then we're going to come back and get into a lot more depth about what it takes to make a good observation. So we'll have a presentation that goes a lot further than what I've been able to do tonight. And that's what I got.
Ray, we had a question in the chat, though I did post some of the answer in the chat. But will you be going more in depth on the map side of things, like your personal map, in one of those events?
That wasn't my plan, but I think we'll have time to delve into the one issue that there's no Wi-Fi at the location. So that could be a little tricky unless I figure out how to make a Wi-Fi hotspot with my phone. But yeah, that would be fun to do. I love working with the maps and showing how to filter and select just what you want to see. So if you just want to see salamanders in Cuyahoga County, you can filter and do that. If you want to do some identification and you only want to see composite flowers in Erie County and try to identify those, you can filter down to that kind of detail and do and look at just the kinds of things that you want to see. So yeah, there's lots of things to do with the map.
Okay, great. And a question from Nancy, though I'm not sure if I'm following the question, but it says, please discuss how Seek ties in.
Okay, Seek is also created by iNaturalist, and you can link your Seek account to your iNaturalist account. But with Seek, you're getting a good identification or a good suggestion on an identification, but it's not posted to the community. If you want to afterwards post it to the community, that is, and so you can transfer it over to iNaturalist if you want to. But boy, if you just want a quick ID, what is this? Is it what I think it is? You hold your camera up with Seek and you get an answer real quick. A pretty good one too.
Great, thank you for the answer and thank you for the question, Nancy. And I see Vera here says the presentation was interesting. I've been using iNaturalist for several years, but I will use it more often now. So thank you.
Okay.
That's our hope. And that's a part of the goal of our Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor too, is to help the pollinators and so many of these species that may be endangered given the certain situation, but Ray, did you want to read the next? Nancy has a comment in the chat.
Oh, I'm I don't have the chat open.
Okay.
Okay. Chat. Oh, there's the chat. Okay. I'm looking for. The seek often IDs as dicots. Is that where we're looking?
Yes, that is the latest comment.
Okay. Yeah, if it's not sure, it will give you a suggestion at a higher taxonomic level. So it may say, okay, I don't know what it is, but it's a dicotyledon, meaning that it's a flowering plant, but it's not a grass. So what that probably means is that it doesn't show the characteristics necessary to make a better stab at it. So and that's one of the things I'll get into in the second part of the thing in April, is how to make a good observation. But one of the things you can do is submit more than one photo. So if you're not getting a good response and you're still right there in the field, and you can go back and take another photo, you can add that to your observation. So you might take a photo of a flower or a seed or a leaf, or stand back and get the whole plant all at once. And then you've got 4 or 5 images that it can work with. And that may get it a lot closer to the species level that you're hoping for.
Okay, Ray, if you want to read the comments, is there any other questions that the group has or observations?
I'm not seeing where you're reading from.
It's still in the chat, Nancy. 80% of the time, not helpful recording. And she comments, yes, at several angles.
Yeah, several angles, and you're still getting dicot. Ooh. Yeah. It's just I get that too. It's frustrating. So it's not just you, but you know, yeah, you got to try taking more pictures, or maybe if you don't have a really defining characteristic, if you don't have a flower, for instance, you're just depending on leaves, that makes it a little bit harder. But I've come up with some great observations where I'm just looking at a cluster of seeds in the winter, and sometimes that's enough. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'd be happy to look at your photos, your postings, and see if I can comment with a little more precise information.
And if you're a
what
chapter member, if you go to Facebook, there's a lot of on our chapter Facebook group. If you post a picture there, there's somebody that might be able to help too. So don't hesitate to share those pictures or questions. We always try to help each other out. Now, Ray, a question I have, because I know there's other people that are experts in the field that sometimes watch those observations and sometimes make comments or corrections. If somebody makes an observation like that and it's very questionable, does when say an expert looks at it and or updates something, do they get an alert with regards to that?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got observations that I made 5 years ago, and then somebody comes in and goes, really, Ray? I'm not sure I agree with that. And so a discussion can flow from that. So I just posted an endangered species, a running buffalo clover. And I know it was running buffalo clover because one of the best botanists in the state was with me and said, that's running buffalo clover. I took a picture of a leaf. It wasn't in flower. And it just looked like a three-petaled clover. And this other person is going like, really, Ray? Why do you think this is the endangered species that almost nobody's ever seen? You know, I said, well, because I was with somebody I knew and trusted, and you know his name. Here's his name. He goes like, oh yeah, that guy knows his stuff. But they weren't willing to confirm the identification just based on somebody else's declaration. They wanted to see the defining characteristic, and I didn't have it. So it will be my word against everybody else's.
So Shamtama, how do people find other people's observations?
If you want to find my observations, you go to OWA-RAY. Oops, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, do you want to put that in the comments, Ray?
I think I can.
Just type out that code that you mentioned. And is it an app that you can be friends with some of these people or follow some of these individuals?
You can follow people.
Okay.
Yeah. You can be a follower and you can follow or a followee. And yeah, so if you want to look at my observations, search for, that's my username. So that's one way to share with other people. Hey, look at what I've been seeing. You know, don't you want to follow me? And then we can compare notes. And yeah, that's a fun thing to do. So it is a kind of a social community. It is what you make it. You know, there's a lot of people that don't really do a lot of communication person to person, but the ability to do that is there.
Wonderful. All right. So any other last minute questions? All right, wonderful. Let's move forward then. So give me one moment. Second. All right, so as Ray mentioned, in an endeavor to help support efforts like this, we have, sorry, don't mind the little tail wandering by my screen, the Northeast Ohio Native Habitat Corridor. So this project, we're trying to create and map out private and public green spaces ranging from anything from balcony gardens, so that could be something just in a container with a species or two, to full-on gardens. It doesn't matter. You could have 3 plants or a full garden. You can get on the map, and you can get on the map for free. And it's about supporting these corridors so pollinators and birds have resources, food, water, shelter, throughout their entire range. So you can get on the map, but you saw a map from Ray of the live map, but you can see how it's trying to show, by creating these little connections, that helps, build a pathway for them. So, and like I said, you do not need even photos to join, but don't feel bad if it doesn't look good or if it's a pile of dirt and 3 plants. Just put your map, your garden or your plants on the corridor, and as it progresses, you can update these photos later on. And sometimes it's really nice to look through some of these photos that people share, because you can see the various processes. Some of these people are starting with a pile of dirt and just a couple plants, or it looks really reedy, or some of these have very elaborate, gorgeous gardens. So it's really cool to just check it out, look through photos. You can see where people are on the map. For those just joining on the map, you do have the option to obscure your location. So you can see people in the general location, but not necessarily their specific location unless they've allowed that option. But check it out. Also, if you have any public spaces that have native gardens or things like that, don't hesitate to put those on the map as well, because we love to see those and see the connectivity with regards to that. And as Ray mentioned, we'll be creating a project or two with regards to the Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor through our community science programs later this year. So go check that out. And I also have the link for the Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor in the comments. You might need to scroll up just a little bit because I posted that while Ray was presenting. And next, so as I mentioned earlier, we are a volunteer nonprofit. So by becoming a member, if you guys are willing to consider that, it helps keep our events and activities free and open to the public. We are 501c3, so if you do become a member, it does count as a donation, so it is tax deductible. But you can go to this link or you go to this QR code to join us. So we hope you do consider doing that. And like I said, we cover all of Northeast Ohio. And then, like I said, connect with us. So if you're on social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, we have a YouTube channel, and we are on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn, we don't have a lot of information, just some basic announcements and whatnot. But if you have a question, whether you want to become a volunteer or just general questions about our chapter or some of our projects or initiatives, please don't hesitate to send us an email at wildonesgreatercleveland@gmail.com. You can also check out our website and you'll see a lot of things about our projects and initiatives, including the Northeast Ohio Habitat Corridor. So we hope you guys consider checking us out. Check out our YouTube channel. We have so many great videos on there. I encourage anybody to stay if they would like, if they have questions that they maybe didn't think of earlier that you have questions about, or if you have a question about wild ones, whether becoming a member or volunteer, don't hesitate to stay on. We'd love to chat with you. But thank you again for your guys' time and attention, and please spread the word. And for those of you leaving, have a wonderful evening.